My dad doesn't know this, but I heard him tell another man he wished his kid were his son instead of me, so I gave him exactly what he asked for, and now I treat him like a stranger. I was 14 when I heard the words that changed everything between my dad and me. We were at my brother Noah's baseball tournament. Noah was 16, the star pitcher, the golden boy who could do no wrong. I played soccer, but my dad never showed up to my games. There was always an excuse. Work ran late, the car broke down, a headache, something. But for Noah, he never missed a single game, not once. That day, I left my phone in Dad's truck, so I went back to get it during the 7th inning. That's when I heard him talking to another father in the parking lot. The man was complaining about his own son, saying the kid had no drive, no passion, no energy. My dad laughed, then said something that hit me like a punch to the chest. He said, "You should trade him for mine." Not Noah, obviously, the other one. "Ethan's so forgettable, you probably wouldn't even notice the difference." They both laughed, and then Dad added, "Sometimes I watch Noah out there and think, what if I had two like him instead of one useless one? That would have been the dream." I stood there behind the truck, frozen, my phone in my hand. My own father calling me useless, forgettable, saying he could replace me and wouldn't even care. I waited until they left. Then I got inside the truck and just sat there in silence. When Dad came back after the game, Noah was in the passenger seat like always, talking about his strikeouts. Dad asked if I was okay. I said I was fine. That was the last real conversation we ever had. From that day on, I gave him exactly what he wanted. A son he wouldn't notice. I stopped asking him to come to my games, stopped telling him about school, my friends, or anything that mattered to me. When he asked how my day was, I said fine. When he tried to start a conversation, I answered with one word and left the room. At first, he didn't notice. He was too busy living through Noah's victories. But a few months later, something shifted. He started knocking on my door at night, asking if I wanted to shoot hoops in the driveway. I told him I had homework. He'd ask if I wanted to grab burgers after practice. I said I wasn't hungry. He'd try to ask about soccer season. I'd tell him it was fine and walk away. Noah caught on before Dad did. One evening, he pulled me aside and asked why I was acting weird with him and Dad. I told him I wasn't acting weird. I was just giving Dad what he clearly wanted, one less son to worry about. He didn't understand, but he didn't push it either. By the time I turned 16, Dad was trying harder. He started showing up at my games unannounced, standing quietly on the sidelines, waving when I looked his way. But when I saw him there, I felt nothing. Not anger, not pride, not even relief, just emptiness. After the games, he'd come up to me, trying to make small talk. I'd thank him politely, like you'd thank a neighbor for showing up to help move a box. No warmth, no connection. He was trying to have a relationship with a wall. The breaking point came last month at Noah's graduation party. Dad stood up to give a toast. He talked about how proud he was of his family, of both his sons. He looked straight at me and said, "Ethan, I know I haven't always been there for you the way I should have been, but I want you to know I'm proud of the man you're becoming." I stared at him, my face completely blank, and said, "Thank you, sir." The room went quiet. He froze. Mom stared at me. Noah's smile faded. I didn't care. After the party, Dad cornered me in the kitchen. He said we needed to talk, that something was wrong between us, that he missed his son. I looked him straight in the eyes and said, "I don't know what you mean. I've always been here." He shook his head. "No, you haven't. You've been somewhere else for years, and I don't know why." I almost told him. I almost threw those words from the parking lot right back in his face, but then I realized something. He didn't deserve to know. He got exactly what he wanted. A son so forgettable, he could live under the same roof and never notice him. So I said, "I'm sorry you feel that way," and walked out. Now he slips notes under my door. He sends me texts asking if I want to hang out, if I'd go to a game with him. I always answer politely, "Maybe next time." There's never a next time. Noah tells me Dad's been crying lately, says he doesn't understand what he did wrong, and that's the point. He never will, because I'll never tell him. There are words you can't unhear, and once they're said, they rot in your chest forever. He wished for another son. Now he has one, just not the one he expected. A stranger living in his house. Exactly what he wanted. 4 years have passed since that day in the parking lot. 4 years since I heard my dad say he wished he could trade me for another son. 4 years treating him like what he made me, someone who doesn't exist. Now, a week before I leave for college, the tension in our house feels unbearable. Mom was the first to notice. That morning, we were sitting at the breakfast table, Dad at the head, Mom to his right, Noah across from me. The same setup as always, the same heavy silence that had become our family's normal. "Ethan," Mom said, setting down her coffee cup, "your father and I were talking. We'd like to throw you a going-away party before you leave." I didn't look up from my plate. "That's not necessary." "Of course it is," Dad jumped in, his voice too cheerful, too forced. "It's not every day a son goes off to college. We want to make it special." I looked up for the first time that morning. "Thanks for the thought, sir, but I'd rather keep it low-key." His jaw tightened. I knew he hated when I called him sir. He hated it because it reminded him of exactly what we were now. Nothing. "Come on, Ethan," Noah started, but I cut him off. "I still need to finish packing." "Excuse me." I stood up and went upstairs. As I left, I heard Mom's voice behind me. "What's going on with him? He's been like this for years. It's not normal." I didn't hear Dad's answer. I didn't care. In my room, I looked at the half-filled boxes stacked against the wall. 18 years of my life reduced to 4 cardboard boxes. Clothes, books, a few keepsakes. No family photos. I'd taken those down years ago. My phone buzzed. A text from Noah. "Need to talk. Now." 2 minutes later, he walked into my room without knocking. "Close the door," I said. He did, then sat on my bed. His expression was the same mix of confusion, frustration, and sadness I'd seen too many times before. "Dad's falling apart," he said bluntly. "Mom thinks he's depressed. He cries almost every night." I shrugged. "I'm sorry for him." "No, you're not. That's the problem." I turned to face him. "What do you want me to say, Noah?" "I want you to tell me what really happened. You've treated Dad like a stranger for 4 years, as if he did something unforgivable, and no one knows why." "I already told you years ago," I said quietly. "I'm just giving him what he wanted. One less son to worry about." "That doesn't mean anything," he said, frustrated. "Dad loves you. He always talks about how proud he is of you, how smart you are." "Now he does," I interrupted. "Where was that pride when I was 14? Noah went silent. "What happened when you were 14? I didn't answer. I turned back to my boxes and kept packing. "I'm your brother," he said softly. "If something happened, I need to know. And if you don't want to wait for part 2, you can watch the full story on my YouTube channel. Just tap share, then more, and click the YouTube link here on my profile. or search for the channel Cooper Reddit on YouTube.